Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So myself, I'm Vijay. I hold 13 plus years of experience, which includes 6 plus years of experience in Hadoop and Spark environment. So as part of today's demo, just I'm going to cover the following concepts. So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, whether my screen is visible or not?
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Your voice is clear for me.
fine, thank you. So
Hello,
yeah,
this is Dr. Sir.
yeah, I'm just going to cover the following things. What is big data? One second. Why Hadoop? Drawbacks. What are the drawbacks you see within the databases? Hadoop advantages and Hadoop scope and job market. Okay, and I'm okay. What is big data? Okay, one thing. This is what I'm going to cover. What is big data? The name itself saying huge volumes of data. Big data is nothing but huge volumes of data. So if you see currently how the data is getting stored, like KBs of data, MBs of data, GB, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes, exabytes. One second. So on. So KBs of data, MBs of data, GBs, TBs, petabytes, exabytes, zettabytes, zettabytes, and sottabytes of data. So you should have seen like KBs of data, MBs or GBs of data, or even TBs of data. Do you think like petabytes of data or exabytes of data is it getting generated in the current real world? If so, examples of petabytes or exabytes of data generation. I want the sessions to be interactive. You can just unmute yourself and you can keep responding. The sessions to be interactive, right? So like GBs or TBs, but do you think like today petabytes or exabytes of data is it getting generated? Examples of petabytes or exabytes of data generation. If you take example of any banking sector like SBI or HDFC, if you see within a city, you can see hundreds of branches for a particular bank. Within the entire state, you can see thousands of branches. Within the entire country, you can see like lakhs of branches for a particular bank like SBI. So again, in each branch, you can see like millions of customers, each customer making multiple transactions per hour, per day, per week, per month. So there is huge transactions, right? Forget about this, and everyone are aware about social media like Facebook. It has got millions and trillions of users. Facebook has got millions and trillions of users throughout the world, not only within the country. So what is the data generated by Facebook in a minute? What should be the storage capacity of Facebook? Means in a minute how many posts and videos are getting circulated, and what should be each and every post and video need to be stored, right? What should be the storage capacity, and what is the data generated by Facebook, right? In a minute, it's not in MBs or GBs. So huge data getting generated, right, by Facebook. Not only like Facebook, today if we take to any application, today if we take example of any application generating data, if I take just 1 minute a transaction, just to take 1 minute of transaction, in 1 minute how many FB posts? And if you see in a minute how many Twitter tweets, and everyone today, if you get any, you're just querying in the Google, right? What is that data generated by Google in a minute? And today everyone creating your own videos and you are uploading in the YouTube, right? YouTube videos upload. What should be the storage capacity of this? And millions and trillions of users using email or Gmail messages. What should be the storage capacity of it? And just now I was talking about the bank transactions. Lakhs of branches. And if you take like telecom transactions, or if you take example of e-commerce websites like Flipkart or Amazon, okay, so everywhere you can see like huge data is getting generated. Even if data is generated, even we need to have proper storage systems to handle this data, to store it and to process it, right? So currently we have got some data. I'll come back to this, why exactly this Hadoop required. Currently we have got databases, right? We have got a databases. Like Oracle, DB2. So these databases, they are used for OLTP, online transactional processing. OLTP, online for day-to-day activities. So they can handle data up to some extent like GBs of data, right? But we have got some specialized databases. We have got some specialized databases. Yes. Like Teradata, Netezza, Vertica. These are used for OLAP, database, OLAP, analytical processing. They used for data warehouse purpose, DWH. So they can handle up to like TBs of data. Currently, if you see the databases, they are used for OLTP, online transactional processing, analytical processing. But for storing unlimited data or huge data, none of these databases can store them. So as a solution to all the storage level problems and not only storage level problems, also like processing that huge data in quick time, we have got a framework like Hadoop, which can handle huge data, unlimited data storage and unlimited data processing. Okay, I'll come back to this Hadoop. What are the Hadoop services, why Hadoop required? But before, let us go with how this data is getting generated, what is types of data, what are the sources of data, how this data is getting generated from the last 40 to 50 years. If you see the comparison of the data, for example, this is the data. Okay, this is the data in the entire real world. So if I see that the data got generated from the last 50 years, from 1970 to 2020, if you observe, this is the data which got generated. So if we compare like the last 1970 to 2010 and last 10 years of data, 2010 to 2020, last 10 years, 80% of the data what we see in the current real world which got generated from the last 10 to 15 years. Do you agree or not? Last 10 to 15 years, 80% of the data got generated. The reasons for huge data generation, the reasons for this huge data generation from the last 10 to 15 years, because of usage of technology, usage of smartphones, or usage of internet. Today, if you see everything to internet, right? Online banking, online shopping, online education, online healthcare, online gaming, so everything through online, right? So huge data getting generated. So if you see, if you go back like 20 years ago or 25 years, like in 1990s, see how the data generation and what is the how the data is carried. What are the secondary storage systems we got? Like we have got like floppy disks, the 1.44 MB, right? We used to carry floppy disks. This size was just 1.44 MB, but even now you cannot even store one smartphone pic in it. Later you got like compact discs, like later you got like DVDs, like USBs, all that. But even now, the huge data is getting generated. Today, even if you see the earlier stages of mobile phones, you got like what was the internal storage, 128 MB or 256 MB of internal storage. Like it was a huge storage at that time. But even today, 128 GB is a very less storage, right? Unable. So like what are the main sources from where this data is getting generated? What are the main sources from where this data is getting? Mainly I can say three sources from where this data is getting generated. Social data, machine data, and transactional data. Social data, machine data, and transactional data. Okay. Social data means the data which got generated from social websites like Facebook, Twitter, all this. Machine data, the name itself saying data generated from these machines. Means if, for example, if you go to any shopping malls, for the items you purchased, a huge bill is going to get generated, right? Means the data which got generated by reading the barcode scanners, such kind of data we called as machine data. Transactional data, nothing but a day-to-day transactions, bank transactions, telecom transactions, all this. Okay, so mainly these are the main three sources from where this data is getting generated, like social data, machine data, and transactional data. And this 80% of the data what it got generated, okay, it's mainly it's going to occupy three types. It's going to occupy three types of data, like structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. Structured data means the data which is organized in a structured format in the form of rows and columns, like Excel sheets, DB tables, database tables, all this comes as structured data. Semi-structured data means which is not fully structured, which is not fully unstructured. Means like XML files, JSON files, JavaScript object notation, key value pairs, all this. And unstructured data, which is like chart messages, articles, images, videos, all this comes as unstructured. So mainly these are mainly this structured, semi-structured, unstructured. But today, like the biggest challenge is how to store this semi-structured and structured kind of data. If you take the example of databases, they can handle only structured data, right? They cannot handle unstructured or semi-structured kind of data. So but Hadoop is a kind of a framework which can handle all the varieties of data, structured, semi-structured, and unstructured kind of data. Just I was briefing you like that sources of data, types, where from where exactly the data is getting generated. So day by day data is increasing enormously. We need to have proper storage systems and proper processing. For even not only storage, we need to process the data in quick time, right? So as a solution to all these storage level problems and for processing level problems, we have got a framework called Hadoop. Hadoop is mainly meant for two things. Hadoop is meant for two things, for storage and for processing. Hadoop is meant for storage and processing. Generally, if you take any technology, it is either meant for storage or for processing. Take example of C or CPP or Java, all this they meant for processing, right? Or if you take like databases, Oracle, MySQL, DB2, SQL, all this they are meant for storage. Either they are meant for storage or meant for processing, but Hadoop is meant for both storage and processing. Storage like huge data, unlimited data, and processing that huge data in quick time. Okay. I got some couple of queries here. So as I'm saying, like Hadoop performs both storage and processing, and also it can store huge data and process the huge data. When Hadoop, when it is able to perform both, what is the necessity of this current processing and storage technologies like all this C, CPP, Java, Oracle, MySQL, DB2? Do you think like they go away from the market when Hadoop, when it is able to perform both? Do you think these technologies will be away from the market? Okay. So you need to understand where exactly this Hadoop can be used and what Hadoop can perform. Okay. Yeah, I'll come back to your query. Yes, Zakir Hussain. Yes, I'll come back to your query. Big data and Hadoop. Hadoop is not for OLTP processing. Hadoop is not for online transactional processing. Hadoop cannot perform online transactional processing. Hadoop is for batch processing. Hadoop is for what? Batch processing. You may understand what do you mean by online processing. Online processing and batch processing. Okay. For example, okay, there are two types of applications I can say. Two types of applications. You need to understand where exactly this Hadoop, what kind of applications. There are online applications and batch applications. For this online applications means okay. Hadoop is meant for batch applications, not for online applications. See, online application nothing but user interactive applications. User interactive applications. Here, user gives the input. In online application, user gives the input. Example, bank transaction. Bank transaction means user involvement required or not. Next is like booking a railway ticket. Booking a railway ticket. Yes, here also user involvement required, right? Otherwise, booking a movie ticket. All these are online applications. So for this, we no need to use Hadoop, right? For a single bank transactions, for booking a railway ticket, or for booking a movie ticket, Hadoop is nowhere required here. For single transactions, we don't go for Hadoop. But for millions and trillions of transactions, millions and trillions of records, you go for Hadoop for batch applications. What do you mean by batch applications? User non-interactive applications. What is that? User non-interactive applications. User non-interactive applications. Example of user non-interactive application. Example, anyone? For example, user is means here user involvement is not required. User involvement is not required. Use railway. Yes, railway booking. PNR status, right? PNR status. For example, today your waiting list is somewhere like 190. After 3 hours, it became like 150. Like at night, it became like 100. Tomorrow morning, it is 70. Tomorrow evening, your ticket got confirmed. Means here this updation done automatically, right? This updation is done automatically by a background application. Here, no user involvement is required. This kind of application, we call them as batch applications. See, if you take the finance sector, mostly all these are batch applications. Finance sector, if you see, mostly they are batch applications. Example of this like we take example of banking or insurance or trading. Here, if you go to this banking, insurance, trading, all this 80% they are 80% of the operations are background. Okay. More examples on this online application: money deposit, money withdrawal, canceling or updating a ticket. Example, can you say batch applications? Which has got more load? Which has got more load? Online or batch? Yes. Which has got more load? Online applications has got more load or batch applications? Okay. More examples on this
Batch
batch.
applications.
Batch applications has got more load, right?
Ah, yes.
For example, more examples of this batch applications means, for example, in a precise way, banks here, user involvement not required, user non-interactive application. Example, bank statements generations. What is it? Bank statements generation. Credit card bill generation. Credit card bill generations for the millions of customers. Phone bill generations. Okay. If you're okay, which has got more load means I'm saying like batch applications has got more load, because online transaction you are making a single transaction, but batch means generating the statements for millions of customers. You are generating the bank statements for millions of customers. Okay, fine. So batch applications has got more load. Generally, like databases are mostly used for this online, like Oracle, this DB2, all this SQL Server. Okay, fine. So just I'm coming back. So just I was asking a query, right? So Hadoop is meant for batch applications or for batch processing, not for OLTP or online transactions. So Hadoop cannot perform online processing. It can perform only batch processing, millions and trillions of records. But Hadoop to perform online processing also, Hadoop to perform online processing or OLTP processing, Hadoop generally will be integrating with the NoSQL databases. Hadoop plus NoSQL databases can perform both online processing and batch processing. Okay, as part of the course, I'll be discussing one NoSQL database also. So as a Hadoop developer, you need to have the knowledge about at least one NoSQL database. So I'll be briefing you what I'm going to discuss as part of the course. Yes. For storage or for the storing data, does Hadoop use any database internally for storing its data? The query is, for storing or for storage, does Hadoop use any database for storing its data? No. I was just saying, like, if you observe here, there are some got drawbacks of databases. I got some drawbacks of data. Despite of those drawbacks, still Hadoop doesn't go with the databases. I'm saying databases drawbacks with respect to Hadoop. Okay. So despite of those drawbacks, still the Hadoop doesn't go with any database for storing its data. It goes with a kind of special kind of file system called as Hadoop Distributed File System, HDFS. Hadoop goes with a file system called Hadoop Distributed File System for storage. And for processing, Hadoop goes with a component called MapReduce, Spark. MapReduce, Spark. Okay. So Hadoop providing two services, storage and processing. for storing huge data and processing that huge data in quick time. And for storage, we go for Hadoop distributed file system, and for processing, MapReduce. And as we have got many big data tools are available. Big data, like not only like big data Hadoop, big data like Flume, Kafka, like Storm, NoSQL databases in this. Okay, for big data, Hadoop is one among this for meant for batch processing. If I take big data as a problem, if I take big data as a problem, I can say Hadoop as the solution for this. Huge data generation, I can say Hadoop. If I take big data as a concept, I can say Hadoop as the implementation for it. Okay, fine. Drawbacks of databases. Why databases are not used for storing Hadoop's data? Okay. Drawbacks of databases. First one, very less storage. Very less storage, you can see in GBs or in TBs. In most of the databases, no parallel processing is going to happen. If you see the third point, volume increases. If the database table volume increases, a query was asked, what is the maximum storage to store? Okay, the database means, for example, if you take the top 100 e-commerce websites, take the top 100 e-commerce websites like Facebook, LinkedIn, Yahoo, Amazon, all this. Currently, all this they are not going to use RDBMS. They are not going to use any kind of RDBMS. Facebook, like 4 years back only, like 3 trillion transactions happening for every 10 seconds. Means in a minute, 18 trillion transactions happening per a minute. So here databases like Oracle are just, for example, if 1 lakh records are attacking Oracle server will be hanged out. It cannot handle those. So if you take, if I discuss like 4 years back, like 4 years, like 4 years back, Facebook was generating nearly 110 TB per day. 110 TB per day means, but the total capacity or lifetime capacity of Oracle lifetime can be like 50 TB. The total capacity or lifetime capacity of Oracle is 50 TB. It even cannot store like 1 days of Facebook data. Facebook generating 110 TB per day. Facebook, this is what Facebook transactional load, 110 TB per day. Okay, so we can go for NoSQL databases, the next generation database I can see. Okay. So we have got many NoSQL databases like Cassandra, HBase, MongoDB, CouchDB, React, Peanut, Neo4j. Okay, fine. Coming to this drawbacks of databases, very less storage, no parallel processing. As volume increases, this point is volume increases, I'm saying like speed decreases. In databases, if volume increases, speed decreases, I'm saying. Means, for example, I'll just give a query. So like if I take an SQL query like this, select some sum of amount from sales 1. Okay, I'm taking select sum of amount from sales 1. I'm taking one more, select sum of amount from sales 2. Three queries I'm taking. Sum of total amount of sales 1, total amount from sales 2, total amount from sales 3. Sales 1 has got 10 records. Sales 2 has got some 1000 records. And sales 3 has got like 1 lakh records. Total amount of sales 1, 10 records, 1000 records, 1 lakh records. Okay, which query is going to get executed faster among these three queries? If I say first total amount from 10 records, or from 1000 records, or from 1 lakh records, which query is going to execute faster among these three queries? Obviously the
First
first query
one.
on this total amount of 10 records. So query to query, as volume increasing, speed decreasing, right? Query to query, as volume increasing, speed decreases. And not only this, like even complexity in databases, if complexity increases, speed decreases, I'm saying. If I take the same, if I take this query, see that query, select average amount from sales 1, sum of amount, average amount, standard deviation of amount, sum of amount, average amount, and standard deviation of amount from sales 1. Sales 1 thinks that you have got some 1 crore records. Think that all the sales, a single table consisting of 1 lakh records, you think. Sum of amount, average amount, and standard deviation amount. Which query is going to execute faster among these three? Yes. Among these three, which query is going to get executed faster? Sum of amount, or average amount, or standard deviation? First query only, right?
Average.
Because this query is going to execute faster because, okay, but average amount is a two-step process. First sum to be calculated, next average to be calculated. As compared to the first query, it takes more time, right? And the standard deviation is a lot of internal processing required. So to query, if complexity increasing, speed decreases. Okay. Now if you observe this, RDBMS databases can handle only structured data. Databases can handle only structured data. Cannot handle unstructured or semi-structured data. Cannot handle unstructured or semi-structured data. Okay, the main drawback, if you see that databases can handle only structure, cannot handle unstructured or semi-structured. This is the main drawback I can say. For example, to justify this, I want I want to take reviews for a particular movie. Reviews is a table in a structured format. Sorry, user, this user and review. User 1 saying movie is good 1. User 2 saying the movie is bad. User 3 saying movie is good. User 4. So in this way, hundreds users are giving feedback. Can you write an SQL query for this to count the number of ones and number of zeros? Anyone? Can you write an SQL database query to count the number of ones and to count the number of zeros?
Yes, we can.
Yes, right? Count aggregation we can write. Can anyone say how to write count of I want select
Select review, comma, count of
review
review,
comma
count of review.
constant
Yeah, constant. From
from
reviews table.
reviews group by review, right?
Group by review.
Review, right?
Yeah.
So here the output, if you see review 0 and 1, right? 1 and 0 review. Think that there are 90 people saying movie good, 10 people saying the movie bad. So for this kind of queries, you can write a data or SQL query, but generally users won't give feedback in the form of ones and zeros, right? They will give in their own text format. Movie is good, movie is not good. Okay, some other text every time. So here, can you write an SQL query now to count the number of goods and not goods? How many saying good, how many saying not good?
No.
This kind of data cannot be handled by databases. Means even if you say counting based on that keyword good, even not good is having that good, right? So it's wrong computation. Yeah. So this kind of data cannot be handled. So only they can handle only structured data it can handle. So the drawbacks of databases. So mainly like very less code, no parallel processing, volume increases, speed decreases, and database can handle only structured but cannot handle unstructured or semi-structured data. Now, Hadoop advantages I said. So tomorrow also everyone can attend the session to know more on this Hadoop. So not within a single day, not going to cover all these things. So Hadoop advantages. Hadoop advantage like unlimited data storage. First is what? Unlimited data storage. Second is very high speed processing. I just display all this. How come it? Why only Hadoop can perform unlimited storage? Why not the databases? Why not databases like Oracle cannot perform unlimited storage? I'll be discussing all this in tomorrow's session. But Hadoop admin unlimited data storage, very high speed processing. Unlimited data storage. Second is very high speed processing. Very high speed processing because of parallel processing. I'll just come back to this very high speed processing. And thirdly, can handle all varieties of data, structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. And Hadoop is an open source, no licensing required. Okay. And commodity hardware. It doesn't mean that it should have high level, high configured systems, any systems. Okay. Very high speed processing because of parallel processing. So what do you mean by parallel processing means? Okay. Very quickly, so I'll be discussing about the Hadoop architecture later, Hadoop storage architecture, processing architecture. In brief, I'm going to just discuss later, but how exactly data stored and processed in Hadoop? In Hadoop, Hadoop follows master and slave architecture, single master, multiple slaves, not client server architecture. It follows master slave architecture. So this is what slave 1, slave 2, slave 3, so on. Multiple slaves are there. So in Hadoop, if I take any file F1, think this this hard disk capacity is 1 TB, 1 TB, 1 TB. F1.txt. F1.txt. This 2.5 GB of this file, can it fit into any of the slaves? 2.5 GB of this file, can it fit into any of the slaves? Yes or no? No, right?
Yes.
It cannot fit into any of these slaves. 2.5, if you take 5 GB, sorry, 5 TB, make it as TB, not GB. 2.5 TB file, you think. It cannot fit into any of this S1, S2, S3, right? So in Hadoop, data is going to be divided into smaller chunks, parts. So just I'm giving overview of this, but in depth, in brief, we'll be discussing later. So Hadoop file, whatever size it is going to split into smaller parts and chunks called blocks. Each block going to be stored across one slave. Each one going to be stored in one slave. Means here, data or the file is going to be divided into smaller chunks. The smaller, we call them as blocks. The blocks are going to get distributed across the slaves and are processed parallelly. Think that there are some 10 lakh records stored in this, 10 lakh records in this, 10 lakh in this, 10 lakh in this, 10 lakh. Means all this are going to get executed, processed parallelly. If data is distributed only, parallel processing is going to happen, right? So in Hadoop, Distributed storage you can see, and parallel processing you are going to observe. Okay. So here are given like unlimited data storage. Unlimited data storage because of parallel, unlimited data storage because of horizon. There is a feature called horizontally unlimited scalability. Horizontally unlimited scalability means horizontally unlimited number of slaves can be added. There is no limit on the number of slaves that Hadoop can have. Horizontally unlimited number of slaves. For example, if you're running a very small business with 10 slaves, observe. This is my master and these are the slaves. If you're running with 10 slaves, if your business has increased, customers are increased, data also increases, right? If customers increase, for example, if customers increased by 100 times, data increases by 1000 times, you cannot go with the same slaves, right? Horizontally you will keep on adding the slaves. Your slaves also going to increase. Horizontally unlimited number of slaves can be added to the and parallel processing, just now I was saying like parallel processing can handle all varieties of data, open source. Parallel processing means, for example, there was a test conducted by Yahoo to check the speed of various databases in the market. It has taken a table of size 100 TB. It has taken a table of 100 TB consisting of 1024 columns. Here the task is sorting based on 16 columns. Sorting. What is the task? Sorting based on 16 columns. Based on 16 columns. Now, what is the time taken by the various databases? First one, Oracle. Oracle has taken nearly 3 days to process it. MySQL. 6.5 days it has taken. Teradata, see here, Teradata, one of the specialized database used for data warehouse purpose. It has just taken, see here, MySQL has taken 6.5 days, and Teradata it has just taken 4.5 hours just to process it. Another specialized database is like Vertica. It has just taken 3 hours. It has just taken 3 hours. And finally coming this Hadoop, it has just taken 3.4 minutes. This is what the speed of Hadoop. Oracle has taken 3 days, MySQL 6.5, Teradata, Vertica, and Hadoop. Latest version of Tapu has taken just 1.2 minutes. Okay, fine. This is what the speed of. So more discussion, I'll be just briefing you in the tomorrow session, like on the storage and processing, how Hadoop is proven in the market. More examples I'll be okay. But as part of now I'm going to show you like what I'm going to discuss as part of this course. So because of this very high speed processing and because of huge storage, Hadoop is proven in the market, storage point of view and processing point of view, that is mostly used. 1 second. Hadoop with Spark. Okay, what I'm going to discuss as part of this course, I'll be just briefing you about. Okay, and more discussion, I'll be giving you more information in the tomorrow's class, same time. Everyone can log in with the same link. Tomorrow also we can have more discussion on this. Okay, Hadoop and Spark. So here, what is big data? What is Hadoop need for Hadoop sources? HDFS file system, Hadoop distributed file system, MapReduce in groupings, aggregations types. Okay, next, Scoop, SQL plus Hadoop. First two characters of SQL and last three characters of it. Scoop. How to import data from database to Hadoop, Hadoop to databases, from database to HBase, HBase to databases, and various filtering operations, groupings, aggregations, merging that we can perform during this process. Yarn, yet another resource negotiator. Yarn architectural components, Yarn architecture, pig in depth, pig in pro. Okay, pig component in brief. Next, Hive component is a very important component. Every project will have this component. Hive. Okay, Hive inner tables, outer tables, partition table, non-partition table, bucketing, indexing, all this. NoSQL database, what are the types? Key value store, columnar store, document store, graph store. These are the many NoSQL databases. And as part of our course, we are going to discuss HBase. It's especially designed for Hadoop environment. And Spark programming, Spark core programming. Controls. See, before I go with Spark, you need to have the knowledge on Scala, right? Scala, Spark is a model, Scala is a language. Scala programming in brief before I go with Spark. Spark variables, sorry, Scala variables, Scala control structures, Scala collections, transformations over those Scala functions. Next, core, RTDs, we say, resilient distributed data sets. How Spark compared with Sage, how Spark compared with HANA, Spark and MapReduce, Spark and Pig, Spark and Flink, different, comparing Spark with other technologies in the market. So what advantage you see in Spark? RTD computations, actions, transformation steps in persistence options, Spark core computing, grouping and aggregations, Spark SQL, deployment modes, Spark submission. Okay. So this is what I'm going to discuss, like Spark application stages and task driver and executor, local mode and cluster mode, and Spark submit. So I'm going to show you how to run this, how to submit this Spark jobs. Okay, so I'm going to show you like using various IDs like Eclipse ID, IntelliJ ID, and using build tools like Maven, SBT build tools, and also I'll give you the knowledge on Spark Cassandra. So this is what I'm going to discuss as part of this course. So with clear notes, every session is video recorded. You'll be getting the video to your mails, Google Drives, notes also. Fine. The duration will be like 1.5 months for this Hadoop, 1.5 months for Spark. It goes for 3 months. If we could discuss more examples, right? If I get some bigger sessions, I may complete in 2.5 months. Fine. Any queries from your side? Everyone can attend the session tomorrow also. More discussion on this Hadoop and Spark. So fine. Any queries from your side?
Yes, sir. Actually, this is Sunil. Actually,
Yes.
so we are going to cover MapReduce also here. So do we need Java language to be learned for that?
Okay. So one thing, so here I kept MapReduce also. See, if we see in this Hadoop, if we see this diagrammatic, Hadoop is meant for storage and processing, and for storage, okay, HDFS. For processing, MapReduce was mostly used previously. Now it got outdated. Now we are going with Spark, right?
Mhm.
Spark has got very high speed, but the MapReduce execution model, MapReduce, everything I will be discussing. I will be showing you some practical part, and I will be showing you examples on it. But if you go like 6 years or 7 years ago, mostly like MapReduce is preferred a lot. But if you see from the last 2-3 years, it got outdated, not that much used. Even now, if you see in the currently, it is not used. Instead, we have got components like Hive is there, Pig is there, Spark is there. We are using those things most. For MapReduce, mainly what many drawbacks are there. Especially it is implemented by using Java language. It has got huge coding, huge programming. But still, if especially some companies are going with that, not all those things. But I'm going to provide you the entire knowledge of that MapReduce also. So nearly I'm going to take nearly 100 to 120 hours for this entire course. 100 to 120, like 3 months I said, right? So on this, all the components like coming from HDFS, MapReduce, Apache Pig, Hive, Scoop, NoSQL, HBase. Even I give knowledge on streaming components like Fluent, Kafka, and Spark core programming, Spark SQL programming, and before that Scala programming. Can even Spark streaming and how to submit the Spark jobs, everything. Step by step, everything I'll be discussing. I'll be typing and showing you all those things, right? So that's the reason I won't be using any pre-written things. Everything I'll be typing, and that's why I'm spending more time for that to have good command on this. Okay, fine. Still any other queries? Anyone?
So about the recordings, actually, how long can we access those records? Is it a lifetime or any particular period for that?
1 year actually. 1 year.
Okay.
But still on a request. But still, it is what 1 year. But still on a request, you can extend it.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Fine. Okay. Still any other queries? Anyone? So more discussion on this. I'll be showing you like tomorrow, like why only Hadoop can do, why can't the other databases, and how exactly data stored and processed in Hadoop, and why only Hadoop can process, what is the speed internally, what happening with. I will be discussing those things, right? Yeah. Fine. Any more queries? Anyone? So that was the course content that I was saying about all the components, Hadoop and Spark in brief. Previously, only Hadoop it was enough, but now in the industry, Spark also required. Now, not with a single Hadoop, but Hadoop and Spark, both their knowledge is required for getting a job. Okay. Fine. If I'm done with your queries, if there are no other queries, then I will just sign off for today. Meet you tomorrow, same time, same link. So still, if you have got queries, you can ask me in the tomorrow session. Fine. Thank you all for your time. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.